Hello. Hope you're having a good day. Today we'll cover Hellix. At an Arctic research station, Hiroshi and Daniel find open cages, 2 corpses, and Peter, still alive but infected. When given water, something pulses in his throat, and Hiroshi calls it progress. On day 1, the CDC team, led by Alan, Peter's brother, arrives by helicopter. Hiroshi claims the virus isn't airborne, so no quarantine is needed. The CDC team gets chip implants for full access, but only has 1 hour of satellite communication daily. Alan and Julia visit Peter, who's in critical condition. While Julia draws blood, Peter says, "White room." His blood is black and sprays out violently. Julia sedates him. Later, they examine the corpses and find the soft tissue dissolved into a black substance. Doreen and Sergio, inspecting the lab, find modified mice. Daniel denies using monkeys, but Doreen finds monkey skin in a drain. They use liquid nitrogen to open a door and find empty cages. A monkey attacks Doreen, and Sergio kills it. They also see something pulsing in its throat. Alan and Sarah find a USB with Peter's journals. In the video, he makes a signal Alan recognizes as "run." An alarm sounds. Peter escaped through a duct. Daniel seals it and floods it with gas. Alan enters to find him and discovers a guard's body. Meanwhile, Julia and Sarah detect a 15-nanometer virus that mutates Peter's genes. Sergio, hiding an antenna, tries to send a message and finds hundreds of frozen monkeys. He informs Hiroshi that his superiors are upset about the CDC's presence. Peter, disguised as a guard, enters a room and attacks. On day 2, Sarah questions scientists who describe the attack as suffocating. Peter seeks to infect more people. Doreen is approached by Tracy, who speaks in plural and fears being sent to the White Room. She mentions they wanted to weaponize the virus. She tries to spit black fluid, but Doreen escapes. Later, Tracy apologizes and collapses. Julia discovers Peter created 2 strains, Narvik A, deadly, and Narvik B, contagious but non-lethal. A rat infected with B transmits black fluid orally. Sergio and Daniel capture a sick scientist. Workers demand evacuation, but Alan refuses to prevent a pandemic. In isolation, Haven suffers and Sarah fetches medicine. Peter locks her in and says, "Julia is there for a reason," then flees. Sergio follows through the ducts. Alan watches via camera, but it goes black. When it returns, Peter is seen over Sergio. Security rescues Sergio unconscious from the duct. Peter has escaped. In isolation, Sarah finds Haven unresponsive to meds. Bryce and Suleimani demand to leave and threaten Sarah. Alan enters unprotected to defuse the tension and frees her. Later, Julia shows that Narvik A rats die from liquefaction, while Narvik B rats turn aggressive. She believes this strain rewires the brain, as in Peter's case. Haven fakes a seizure, attacks Sarah, and escapes with other doctors, leaving Doreen behind. Soon after, Sarah notices her hand trembles. Alan confronts Hiroshi about the lies. Hiroshi denies knowing what his team was doing. Alone, he looks at photos of Julia and reveals silver eyes under contacts. Peter surprises Julia in the shower and forces her to swallow the black substance. The next day, Alan finds her unconscious. Julia, confused, denies remembering. Later, Alan finds Peter in the lab asking for help. As the base goes into lockdown, the team asks for symptom reports. Alan isolates Peter, but Hiroshi decides to send him to Level R, a sealed zone for risky experiments. Suleimani appears infected and is shot by Daniel. Alan saves her by removing the bullet. Julia begins hallucinating the black substance. She sees Sarah's tremor, but Sarah blames fatigue. Sarah develops a virus test. Peter, Tracy, and a scientist test positive. Julia takes it, tests negative, but hides the result. Sergio and Doreen return to the lab, but the monkey is gone. Sergio obtains a new sample from a frozen one. Meanwhile, Bryce tries to access a supposed cure called Sadra. After infecting himself and attacking Alan, he's tased down. Behind a sealed door, Duchamp tells them no cure exists. Doreen analyzes the monkey sample, which grows rapidly. She kills it with gas, shocked by its behavior. Sergio urges her to keep it secret. Hiroshi tells Alan Sodra is a strong antiviral but fatal in 75% of cases. He also reveals smallpox is stored on site. Tests show a third of staff is infected. Positives are sent to level R. While moving Bryce and Suleimani, she attacks Daniel. Another guard stops her, but she escapes. Bryce is later found dead. In level R, Julia sees Sarah stumble and forces her to retest. It's negative. Daniel reports Suleimani's escape, causing panic. Suleimani attacks a guard. Julia coughs, recalling her attack, and Alan shoots Suleimani to save her. Julia shows she expelled black fluid too, so she must stay in level R. The area is sealed, and Alan plans to contact the army when satellite links return. Sarah notices her tremor and takes medicine. Removing her shirt, she reveals a deep scar on her back. Meanwhile, someone plants an explosive on the antenna. Julia sees her test is still negative, but other positives now test clean, proving it's unreliable. She tries to warn them, but the explosion destroys the antenna and severs comms. On day 4, Level R scientists plan to sabotage the air system, leaving the base without oxygen in 6 hours to force action. Julia tries to stop them but is expelled. In the hall, a suited figure signals her to follow but vanishes. Alan asks about the satellite and Daniel says it's under review. Hiroshi announces Level R will be abandoned due to the risk. Sarah, still trembling, is approached by Dr. Igam, concerned her test is negative despite a mark on her arm. Sarah retests, still negative, but Igam doubts the result. Peter worsens and Alan convinces Duchamp to try Sodra. The effect is instant. Peter improves. Meanwhile, Sergio confesses to Hiroshi he blew up the antenna and pressures him to deliver results. Just then, an alert warns of oxygen loss, a tactic from level R. Hiroshi decides to act personally. Doreen demands answers and Sergio confesses he works for a Pentagon unit. She discovers the virus was made to induce desired human traits. Sergio kills her and releases the rats to fake an accident. In level R, a patient chases Julia, but a masked figure saves her. It's Jay. They search for supplies, and Julia sees initials on the wall she used to write as a child, though she doesn't recall being there. Later, Igam starts hallucinating and confirms Sarah has a tumor. Sarah realizes she's infected and the tests don't work. She tells Alan there are no infected on her floor, but the test fails. Peter wakes and Duchamp notes the virus resists the antiviral. He has a heart attack, and Alan keeps him alive with a respirator. Sarah and Igam grow weak. She gives them a strong drug. Daniel reports people are suffocating, so Hiroshi reveals hidden stairs to the filters. There they find armed scientists. One vomits black fluid. They pretend to help, but Hiroshi kills them after restarting the system. Day 5. Sergio burns the frozen monkeys and reports his mission complete, requesting evacuation. His new order, find Doctor Vit. The monkeys scream. They were alive. Sergio tries to track Vit but fails. Alan strengthens Sodra, and Duchamp plans a test. In level R, Hiroshi fakes an attack and convinces Julia and Jay to help him. They walk through dark halls until rats appear and an infected chases them. Jay is trapped outside. Julia wants to help her, but Hiroshi stops her. She asks about his scars and he makes up a story. Then Haven finds them. Julia pushes Hiroshi into another room. Jay reappears and knocks Haven out with an extinguisher. Then Jay says something never shared before, making Julia realize Jay is a hallucination. She did it all alone. Alan finds Doreen's body and suspects someone released the cages. With Daniel, he checks footage, but it's damaged. Later, Daniel sees Sergio on a tape and confronts him. Sergio points to Hiroshi. Sergio also asks Duchamp about Vit. Duchamp admits he's in the base, hidden. Rumors link him to the White Room. Daniel interrupts and punches Sergio for answers about Doreen, but gets only evasions. Dying, Igam begs Sarah to kill him. She refuses, gives him a sedative, and then injects herself. Alan performs Doreen's autopsy and finds a lethal injection. He tells Sarah, worsening her mood. She ends up kissing Alan, but he rejects her after seeing her dilated pupils, suspecting drug abuse. Sarah later fulfills Igam's wish with a lethal dose. Alan and Sergio investigate Doreen's work. Sergio convinces Alan to find Dr. Havit, supposedly linked to Doreen. Alan confronts Daniel, who warns not to trust Sergio. In Sergio's room, they find explosives, an antenna, Doreen's notes, and a message saying Havit is in the White Room and must be evacuated. Daniel flees and activates a hidden switch in the snow, revealing several preserved heads, including Vit's. Sergio catches up and knocks him out, using the trap to retrieve the head. Back at the base, Sergio runs into Alan, who accuses him over Doreen, but Sergio overpowers him and leaves him in the snow. Alan manages to return to base. Sergio tries to send a message, but Daniel stabs him and steals his thermal gear before leaving with Vit's head. Next day, a figure drags Sergio's body. Julia dreams of a girl and Peter. When she wakes, she sees infection signs and notices Hiroshi healed fast. She hears screams and faints. Upon waking, Hiroshi injects her with a sedative and flees through a passage. Alan and Sarah push into level R but are attacked. Alan cuts off an infected's hand to save her. Sergio, handcuffed by Anana, is questioned about missing kids. He plays dumb. Alan and Sarah discover the virus transfers genes. Hiroshi returns and says Narvik was a cancer cure, later altered. Daniel reports he killed Sergio, angering Hiroshi over likely fallout. Julia hallucinates her childhood in Montana. In a dream dinner, all blame her. She cuts a turkey that bleeds black fluid. She wakes up with silver eyes. Peter suggests she's patient 0. Alan and Sarah try freezing the virus. They visit Victor, who freezes Peter, stabilizing him. Sergio escapes and finds that Daniel at the base is Toluk, his long-lost twin. Anana and Sergio head to base to expose it. Day 7. Aaria helicopters arrive. Constance introduces herself as director, scolds Hiroshi for failure, and wants to erase witnesses. Alan tells Sarah he doesn't trust her. Constance finds Julia's photo album in Hiroshi's office. He reveals her location and escapes. Anana and Sergio arrive. Daniel denies being Toluk but sends them to isolation. Constance, upset about the scientist's death, confronts Sergio, slaps him, kisses him, and locks him up. Julia is attacked by an infected, but her silver eyes scare it off. Hiroshi bandages her and urges her to flee. Alan, Constance, and soldiers descend to level R but are overwhelmed. They take shelter. Alan saves Constance, who insists he follow her. Daniel admits kids were in the base but vanished. Hiroshi gives Julia a box with lenses she doesn't wear. Alan sees her glowing eyes. Day 8, the infected break in through ducts. Julia requests testing. An infected tainted the food. Sarah finds Julia is photosensitive, and Julia asks her to keep it secret. Daniel gives Anana a uniform. She stitches Sergio, but leaves a needle in his wound. He uses it to escape. Before leaving, Anana leaves a family photo. Constance examines Julia and declares her Alaria's property. Alan is arrested. Constance questions Hiroshi, who won't cooperate. Sarah finds no cure in Julia's blood. Alan plans an explosion. Julia enters the ducts. Infected don't attack her. She reaches the lab. Alan and Sarah ask her to free Hiroshi. Julia leaves. Alan tricks Constance with a fake cure. A guard spots the trap. The lab explodes. Alan and Sarah escape. Constance threatens to kill Peter if Alan doesn't surrender. Sarah finds a sonic cannon. Outside, Sergio tries to steal a bike. Anana stops him. He disarms her but returns her gear as guards arrive and lets himself be caught. Julia frees Hiroshi, but he sedates her. She wakes, sees a photo of them, and is captured. Alan surrenders. Constance begins draining Peter and orders Alan's death. Sarah uses the sonic cannon, kills the power, and infected kill the soldiers. Sarah keeps using the cannon to fight Constance and her guard. Hiroshi rescues Alan. Sarah flees. Peter is captured. Julia is freed. Hiroshi kills Constance and declares Illaria's control is over. Daniel confronts Hiroshi about his past. Constance is added to the Frozen Heads collection.